Welcome again. This is the second module about design thinking. In the previous one, we have examined the general information about design thinking, and we found that there are five phases in design thinking that are, let's say it again, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. In these modules, we will go deep into each phase in details, and for each one, we will discover some supporting tools.
Remember that to develop the mindset of design thinking, to apply it without even knowing it, you have to be driven by curiosity, continuously asking questions, and be ready to change your perspective and look at things from other side. You have to accept that systems are complex, and complex system problems demand complex solutions. You have to experiment and iterate, to be ready to test and prototype iteratively, to understand, learn, and solve problems from the user's point of view. You have to work in a team, possibly a cross-functional team with different capabilities. You share with them what you're thinking, and they have to do the same. Show and visualize are crucial, and you must create an environment of trust where everyone is free to share their ideas without fear of being judged. And the most important one is that you have to be focused on people, build empathy, and explore their needs.
The first phase we are going to see is empathize. To develop empathy toward individuals, it's beneficial to passively observe them in their natural environment or engage in interviews. Additionally, making an effort to empathize by putting ourselves in their shoes enhances our comprehension of the circumstances. The upcoming session will delineate various methods to cultivating empathy for your users. To foster empathy with users, it's essential to consistently adopt a beginner's mindset. This entails making a concerned effort to set aside our assumption and prior experiences when conducting observation. Our life experiences shape the assumption we carry, influencing how we interpret and understand the world. However, this cognitive process can impede our capacity for genuine empathy with the individuals we are observing. While completely shedding assumption may be challenging, despite the somewhat negative connotation associated with the word assumption, we should consistently and consciously remind ourselves to embrace a beginner's perspective. It is beneficial to constantly reinforce the practice of refraining from judgment during observation, questioning everything, even when confident in our understanding, and actively listening to others. You have to put yourself in the user's shoes. You have to adopt a beginner's mindset. And last but not least, it is very important, don't judge. Now we are going to look at two tools that could help you to empathize with your users. First of all, you have to understand who is your ideal users, and to do so, you can use the user persona tools. You have to define your user not only related to demographic information, but with their behaviors and their needs. And this will help you to, as we said before, put yourself in their shoes in order to understand their point of view. We have 4 quadrants in this tool. Each quadrant defines an aspect of our ideal user. Follow the instruction in each quadrant to define every aspect of your ideal user. After you define your ideal users, what you have to do is to define their experience In order to do so, you can use the Empathy Map tool. An empathy map serves as a concise summary of insight gained from interaction in the realm of design research. This map delineates 4 major areas, providing a comprehensive overview of individuals' experience. Additionally, empathy maps serve as a valuable groundwork for crafting personas at a later stage. Comprising 4 quadrants, an empathy map corresponds to 4 key traits exhibited or possessed by the user during the observation or research phase. These quadrants capture what the user said, did, thought, and felt. While it is relatively straightforward to identify what the user said and did, discerning their thought and feeling requires meticulous observation and analysis of their behaviors and responses to specific activities and conversation. In order to understand better your user persona, after you fill the 4 quadrants of the empathy map, you can also add 2 more quadrants to define the pains and the gains of your ideal user. I suggest you to complete the pains and the gains later in the discussion with the team. And also pay attention to contradiction you can have in the empathy map, like between what the user say and what he did. Be aware also that now, in the first step, you are creating your abstract ideal user based on your assumption and on what you think it could be. Once you did it, it is important to find a person, or better, more than one, to verify if what you thought was right or not, and modify the user persona accordingly. When you have found your ideal user in real life, I recommend you do an interview with him to better understand what he did, what he felt, what he thought, and so on. This interview should be done in pairs. One person poses the question and the other taking notes, or better yet, recording a video. If you're working on an innovation project that could take time to be developed, probably it could be useful for you to try to define your future user persona in order to identify what your ideal user would be. The steps are the same we already talked about, but can be done in 2 ways. First one could be identify your user persona now and try to understand how the same person will be in the future, how his or her life will change based on different assumptions like the city is living, the age, the job title, and more. The second one could be identify directly the ideal user that will use your product or service in the future. This is a very difficult challenge because you can use only your assumption to define your future ideal user, which will only exist in the future. In comparison to user persona tool, the empathy map focuses more on the emotional state of potential customers. I suggest also speaking to experts who knows the user very well, and of course being active yourself and doing what the user is doing. As I already said, put yourself in their shoes in order to understand their point of view.